Yo, what's up, Profit Playbook fam? It's Jaime Hernandez back with your Week 6 DFS breakdown. This slate is straight fire. Unlike last week, it was a boring slate, but we're back to some fire here. We've got Notre Dame rocking a 40-plus implied team total. Baylor, Kansas State shaping up as a shootout, and spots where defenses are just begging to get gashed. Michigan's a pretty heavy favorite here. Clemson's back from a bye week, and Oklahoma State, well, straight up run funnel. Today, I'll give you my must-play quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, plus game stacks that can set you apart. Let's dive in and build some profits, playbook style. Let's go ahead and get right into it here, starting off with the quarterbacks. Once again, we're going all the way to the top with Sawyer Robertson here. Baylor 9,300. Robertson has been one of the most consistent fantasy quarterbacks in college football this season. He's averaging 342 passing yards per game with 17 touchdowns already. And his game logs are loaded with fireworks, right? He's had, of course, 393 yards, 4 touchdowns already. He's also had 440 yards passing, right? And 4 touchdowns as well. 440, you can say, 419, 3. He's been all over the place in a good way, right? And of course, the only real letdown was here versus Sam Houston State, where he managed just 211 passing yards. But you know what? That's just the exception, not the rule for Robertson here. Baylor's defense is a mess, which means Robertson is forced into shootouts every week, right? And that's gold for DFS. If you want ceiling with safety, he's your guy, and he pairs beautifully with a couple of his receivers, right, that we'll be talking on about a little bit later on here. And the only thing with Robertson is what's his name? I'm so sorry. Is how many touchdowns will Bryson Washington vulture, right? That's the only question. But besides that, Robertson is safe. He's got a ceiling. Yes, he's expensive, but he will not let you down here, right? You can tell here with these fantasy scores here, really good safety at cash and pretty good high ceiling as well for GPPs. From Robertson, we'll go to our next guy. On the other side of things, I would say, where's he at? Let's go a little bit here. We'll come back to our next pick, but where is this guy? Let's see. He's right here. Avery Johnson, quarterback, Kansas State at 7,600 on the salary here. Johnson gives you that dangerous dual threat profile that can win a GPP outright. Of course, he hasn't had a ceiling game yet, right? As you can tell here, that's why I mentioned GPP. On the season, he's got 1,019 passing yards with 8 passing touchdowns to just 1 interception. He's also has about 154 yards on the ground and 2 scores as well, as you can see here. He showed exactly why he's such a weapon, right? In the last game versus UCF, you would say 168 yards passing, 2 touchdowns through the air, 75 yards rushing, and he fumbled once, but that would be, I would say, more on the floor side of things here. Here versus Baylor, like I said, they have a leaky defense. If it's a shootout, I do truly believe Johnson will run wild. Johnson has one of the highest ceilings on this slate, despite not hitting that ceiling game. And that's why we love Johnson this week. And then last but not least, for our studs, we'll go to Clemson. In Cade Klubnik, right? 8,000 on the salary. Klubnik might be one of the quieter studs on this slate here. Same thing, no ceiling games. Some say Clemson's season is lost already, right? He is sitting at 996 yards passing, 6 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, with 60 yards rushing, averaging 18.5 fantasy points per game. But you know what? He's coming off a bye week, and Clemson is a 2-touchdown favorite against UNC with a nearly 30-point implied team total. Klubnik, of course, he's shown he can deliver big DFS scores in the past. Unfortunately, this season, once again, they have not been as good, right? As good as they've been built to be. But versus UNC, after a bye week, I think they're just gonna come in here firing they're gonna be firing at all cylinders here, and they're just gonna show what they can actually do. That's what I truly believe, and it's gonna be a shootout. I mean, we've seen what UNC's defense can do to opposing quarterbacks, but at the same time, we've also seen that they can allow huge gains to opposing quarterbacks, right? So, with Klubnik and Johnson, I truly believe those are GPP guys there, and I really like both of those guys this week for that. But besides that, let's go to our value tier, our value guys here. We'll go ahead and start off with my favorite play of the week last week, right? Which is Brandon Sorsby. He was one of my favorite plays last week, and he delivered, right? 6,400. He went for 31.7 fantasy points. He had 388 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns. He had an additional 52 yards through the air. It wasn't his best ceiling game, but at 6,400, he smashed that spot, right? Versus Kansas. And on the other side of things, I also gave Jalen Daniels, and then he went off as well. But anyways, we're going back to Brandon Sorsby at 6,800. Yes, his price increased, still way too low for him. Iowa State's defense, they are a little bit better than Kansas defense, of course, but I mean, when it comes to his floor, it's there. His floor is there. Nebraska's defense is pretty good. He got 23.4. I believe that's the floor for this game here. And of course, the ceiling, you already know where his ceiling's at. Brandon Sorsby as one of our top value guys of the slate this week. And let's go to another guy that I truly like this week. And that's University of Virginia quarterback Chandler Morris at 6,700, just a tad bit below Sorsby, right? When it comes to Morris here, I would say he's quietly been a DFS gem, right? He has had that September 13 game. It was a little bit low. Regardless, it's okay. He's been pretty damn good the rest of the way, right? And at 6,700, he's definitely one of our better value picks there. Fits in just on the same category as Sorsby, right? And then let's go to our one of maybe, if not the best value pick of this slate, in my opinion, Mr. Iowa State, Rocco Becht, right? He has 1,103 yards passing through the air so far this season, 7 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. He's got 38 yards rushing with an additional five rushing scores to his totals here that you can add to a total of 12, right? And at just 6,100, he's cheap, but the matchup and rushing upside make him worth a shot in tournaments, right? So if Sorsby can come out firing on all cylinders, and if he does what we expect him to do, then I would expect Rocco Becht to do the same to keep up with him, right? If this game becomes anything of a shootout, if you go with both quarterbacks, it might be another Kansas-Cincy game of last week, and it can pay a lot of dividends. But that's it for our quarterbacks. Our studs once again are Sawyer Robertson, Baylor at 9,300, Avery Johnson, Kansas State at 7,600, Cade Klubnik, Clemson at 8,000, and our values are Chandler Morris, Virginia, 6,700, Brendan Sorsby, Cincinnati, 6,800, and last but definitely not least, Rocco Becht, Iowa State at 6,100. So there we have it with our quarterbacks. Now we go with our workhorses, our running backs. And once again, we're going to start off close to the top, if not all the way at the top here. we're going to go ahead and start off with Mr. Love, Jeremiyah Love. The times I've been recommending him, he's been going completely off. 30.7, 30.7, 41.7. And guess what? We're going back to him this week. Pricey, but massive upside, as you can see here, right? Last game, 127 yards total, 2 touchdowns. Two touchdowns rushing, 2 touchdowns receiving. He went off, right? He didn't have that 157-yard game like he did just on the ground there, but he made up for it, punching the ball in there. And he's amazing, but I'm pretty sure he's gonna be chalky. So in GPPs, I would say pivot maybe to Jadarian Price for leverage. He did pretty good himself, backing up Jeremiyah Love. But anyways, Jeremiyah Love is our top stud of the week once again, Notre Dame, right? And then let's go a little bit down here with Bryson, Washington, right? If you don't want to go ahead and spend up at quarterback with Robertson, you can go with Washington at running back if he plays. I mean, he is questionable, right? So you got to make sure that he's in the lineup. If he is, I truly believe, even at his price here, he'll be a good pick. A good pick up there, right? I mean, I've been recommending him the last 2 games, but I doubt, he's going to have another mediocre game there. I truly believe versus Kansas State, if it becomes a shootout, he's going to be getting a lot of looks in the receiving game there, which will definitely bring a lot to his upside, right, and his ceiling. And we might be getting a little bit closer to these numbers here. And if he's not playing, of course, go all in on Robertson or shift to Washington's backup, right? But anyways, let's go to another stud that I love here, and he is Justice Haynes, Michigan, right? He's been an absolute workhorse. The only thing with him has been the touchdowns being vultured from him inside the 10. So if he can go ahead and punch a little bit more of those in, his ceiling is through the roof. We saw it week 1, right, at 39.5 fantasy points. I mean, we'll take the 24, 22, and 28 fantasy points in cash, but if you're going to be playing those GPP lineups, you're hoping for a little bit more touchdowns, which is possible. Because he's just getting vultured, he's just getting touchdowns vultured from him. But yeah, Justice Haynes, one of my favorite plays this week versus Michigan, right? They do run at a 57% clip, and they are also 16.5 favorites versus Wisconsin. That script screams for Haynes to get his 20-plus touches. Definitely safer play than Robertson in cash, especially if Robertson is out, of course. So, there we have our studs. Now we go to the value. Let's go here. Let's start off with, if this works. Isaac Brown, University of Louisville, running back, 6,700 there. Virginia allows about 150 yards rushing per game, right? Brown last week, he looked a little bit banged up the week prior as well, but we also see his ceiling games here, right? I mean, he is facing a little bit better competition, but at 6,700, I mean, he should be good to go here. But yeah, like I said, when healthy, he's got a massive ceiling at 6,700. I do believe he bounces back here. He's probable for this game. Looks like he's all good to go. I believe for 6,700, he will return to at least 20-point plus fantasy score here in week 6. Isaac Brown, I truly believe he's a good value there. But if you're not sold on him, let's go to a couple more values. We can go to Ismail Mahdi for Arizona Wildcats going up against Oklahoma State. What did we do last week? We picked on Oklahoma State, right? I know Washington, he didn't go off completely. That's one of the only outliers versus a really, really good running back right? But he's averaging 20 touches per game. Faces Oklahoma State's defense, ranked 131st versus the run, allowing 245 yards on the ground, right? If Riscano's out, Mahdi, he's just going to go bananas in this game, I truly believe. Those 14.8, 12.3 fantasy points that he had versus Iowa State. And, I believe those are outliers. If Riscano's out, he might crack the 30-plus on the fantasy points here. If Riscano plays, then I see the 14.8 and 12.3 fantasy points being his floor, and his ceiling may be around 20 fantasy points. Regardless, on price, 6,100, Mahdi is a great value going up against one of the worst defenses in the country this week. Another guy that I really like as a value, which I touched on him a little bit. Let's see here. Where is he at? There he is. Jadarian Price, right, running back, Notre Dame, backup to Jeremiyah Love. Like I said, if you wanted to pivot off of Love, you can go with Price here. As you can tell, both running backs, since that dud versus Miami for both Love and Price, they picked it up the last 3 games here. And that's both running backs going off. So there's a lot of touches going around for that Notre Dame running backs there. And his price, he's a steal, right? Especially if Notre Dame just blows out, if they blow out, can't even think here. I'm so sorry here. But anyways, if Notre Dame, if they blow out, I'm so sorry here. I can't even process what I'm even saying here. But anyways, if Notre Dame wins in a blowout here, I truly believe that they're going to, feed Price here. And he's going to be very successful on the ground. So he's my favorite value play of the slate here. So once again, studs, we go with Jeremiyah Love, Justice Haynes, Bryson Washington. Value, we're going with Ismail, Mahdi, Isaac Brown, and Jadarian Price out of Notre Dame. Now we go with the playmakers at the wide receiver. We'll go ahead and base it off the quarterbacks that we recommended. So first off, we'll go ahead and start off here with Clemson. And that is, where's that? Yep, that is Bryant Wesco, right? Wesco, as you can see here, he's already at 5 touchdowns, 24 receptions, 389 yards receiving. So if you're going with Klubnik and you feel like he will be going off, I would highly suggest pairing him up with Bryant Wesco Jr. here, right? He's a little pricey, but I believe he's going to go off. And then if you wanted to also go with more, if you wanted to stack him up with more receivers, you can go with Antonio Williams, right? He's a little pricier. He's only played in 2 games. But if you truly believe that Klubnik's going to go off, might as well stack him with his receivers, right? And then if you did not want to spend up for them that much, you can go to his other guy. Let's see here. Let me see here. You can go with TJ Moore, right? He's going to be a little bit more under-owned, but you never know in stacks, right, or in high-scoring games. So if you believe it's going to be a high-scoring game and Klubnik's going to be spreading the ball, just going off, it doesn't hurt to pair him up with his 3 receivers. Or if you just want to choose 2, definitely go ahead and go the route with Antonio Williams and Wesco. My favorite play will be Wesco at 7,300 in that game right there. And then we can go ahead and go with Kansas State. Let's see here with Jace Brown, wide receiver, right? So same thing here. If you're going with Williams, you can definitely stack him up with Jace Brown, right? So he was questionable coming into this week. It looks now like he's probable to face Baylor, so he's all good to go. So if you're building a stack with Avery Johnson, Jace Brown looks pretty good, right? And then if you wanted to go with Jaren Tibbs, you can go with Tibbs at 3,900. The only thing though is that with Brown playing, I don't know how much more volume he's going to be seeing, but regardless, if you're going with Johnson, you can definitely go with Tibbs. And as you can see here, he has his duds, right? But then he also has some ceiling games, I would say, based off his price. So if you wanted to pull the trigger, you can pull the trigger with Johnson and his two receivers there. And let's go to, let's see here, with Baylor. That Baylor stack I really like because you can either go with Cameron, where's he at? And another guy that I recommended last week, right? So you can go with Josh Cameron. He's WR1 there, right? 27 receptions, 407 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He's had one ceiling game versus SMU, right? 38.1, so the ceiling is there. And the floor is all right, I would say, for his price range, but I believe this is going to be more of, as long as Kansas State can turn into a shootout, this game is going to be closer, I would say, between his ceiling and his floor, maybe in the 20s for fantasy score there with Cameron. If you wanted to go down with value, let's see here. Where's he at? You can go with Wilson, right? 21 receptions, 274 yards, 2 touchdowns. But if you're thinking of going with Wilson here, my favorite play in the Baylor passing attack, I recommended him last week, and he paid dividends for us, right? Let's see, where's he at? And that is Kobe Prentice, right? 14.3 fantasy points at 3,200. He definitely paid dividends for us last week. And you see, I truly believe he's a little bit safer than Wilson. So I love Prentice as my top value play of the slate for wide receiver. And something that we haven't missed with yet has been our value plays of the slate, right? And then you can go to Cincy if you're going to be using Sorsby. Let's go with Mr. Allen, Cyrus Allen. If you want to team him up and stack him up with him. Last week, he was an amazing stack, right, with Sorsby. 38.8 fantasy points, 11 receptions, 128 yards, and 2 touchdowns, right? If Iowa State can keep it close and the shootout, for 5,700, Cyrus Allen is definitely going to be one of the best values, right? He's the alpha there. And, that's truly it. When it comes to stacking Sorsby, I like Allen. When it comes to Goody or Caldwell, they're cheap pivots, but I would prefer going with Allen for Sorsby. And then last but not least, or I think there's 2 more. Let's go with Virginia. Let's see here. If you're going with Morris, then you can go ahead and play Troy Harris, right? 21 receptions, 366 yards, 3 touchdowns. Once again, the ceiling is there, as we can tell, right? Versus Stanford. But then, of course, he's got some duds. Once again, GPP. You can go all in on Troy Harris for GPP. His ceiling is there. His floor, I would say, is not too bad for his price, right? So, you can say he's cash viable. We have Troy Harris if you're going, with Morris at quarterback there. And you can also, if you're still staying and you want to stack this game up a little bit more, you can go with Cam Ross. I think they're priced identical, right? 24 receptions, 286 on the yardage, 2 touchdowns. His floor, as you can tell there, right? And then also his ceiling. So his ceiling is there as well. So if this is a shootout, then UVA stacks can definitely pay off big time. And then let's go for, if you're going with the Rocco Becht stacks here, you can go to, let's see, Brahmer. What was he at? 3,300 last time I saw. Let's see. Or am I tripping? Let's see here. Yeah, here we go. Benjamin Brahmer, 16 receptions, 138 yards, 3 touchdowns, right? So the floor, the floor is not there, right? It's duds. But if it turns out into a shootout here, I truly believe this can be a great game for Brahmer. They've been controlling the clock. They've been controlling the game, the script, everything from the get-go. Versus Cincy, though, Cincy can score. They can be scoring at will. And if they do that, this game's going to turn into a shootout, which is going to turn ISU stacks to pay dividends there. And then another guy that you want to go with is this partner, Brett Eskildson. 10 receptions, 216 yards, 1 touchdown. Floor is a little bit safer, right? But same thing. They've been controlling the clock. They've been controlling everything right off the bat. If this game turns into a shootout, once again, ISU stacks are going to eat. They're going to be on fire. But that's pretty much it for receivers, right? Let's go to our game stacks that I already mentioned. Baylor versus Kansas State. We like Robertson plus Cameron, Wilson, and Prentice, right? If you are just going to do 2, my suggestion would be Robertson, Cameron, and Prentice. And you can run it back with Johnson, Brown, and Tibbs, right? It has highest ceiling game on the slate. And then Virginia versus Louisville. Morris, teaming them up with Harris or Ross. A run back with Isaac Brown, right? Cheap, high upside stack. And then Notre Dame versus Boise State. Chalk with Love, right? He's going to be chalky. And you can pivot to Price there. But yeah. And then Cincinnati versus Iowa State. Sorsby with Cyrus Allen versus Becht, Brahmer, Eskildson. That can definitely be a GPP takedown worthy type of game there. If you put Sorsby and Allen and stack them up with Becht, Brahmer, and Eskildson, right? If it's a high-scoring game, that might be the game to be on there. I've learned in a DFS where over-unders truly don't matter to take down a GPP, right? These past few weeks, both NFL and college, the over-unders on the lower end have been taking down GPPs. But there it is. Someone else. Maybe one last pick for you guys. Let's go to the Oklahoma State game. Let's see here. Oklahoma State. Let's see. What's going on here? Well, it's not working, but if I hear any news on a certain receiver out there that, might get some time at quarterback, then I'll drop a short on there. But stay tuned for that, because we might have a situation developing there that might be great for DFS, right? Which is a receiver, a quarterback that's eligible at receiver. But anyways, there it is. The Week 6 Profit Playbook DFS Blueprint. Quarterbacks who sling it, running backs who grind it, wide receivers who blow the top off, and stacks that separate you from the field. My question to you is, what's your favorite angle? The Robertson chalk, the Mahdi value, or that sneaky UVA stack, or that ISU stack? Drop it in the comments. Smash that like, subscribe, and let's cash in big. Jaime Hernandez, Profit Playbook. We're running back in Week 7. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. See you guys soon.